Welcome back to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Peru, President Dina Boluarte announces that on Saturday the 10th, the new ministerial cabinet will be sworn in. The president told the media of her gratitude to the people of Peru and asked for calm while waiting for the swearing in. In this sense, she indicated that they are in the process of confirming the new ministerial cabinet, which will be completed by the end of Friday. The president regretted the temporary closing of the Congress and the establishment of a government of exception because of a Democrat. She is in favor of the citizens, the constitutional law, and the balance of power. Thousands of people took to the streets in several Peruvian cities on Thursday to demand the new elections and release of the former president Pedro Castillo. One of the main gathering points was the central square of Chota, Cajamarca, where a large group of demonstrators marched to show their support to the ousted President Castillo. The Regional Central of Peasants Patrol of Cajamarca summoned its members to show support for Castillo, and the entity announced that it will go to Lima to participate in the next demonstrations. The leaders also informed that its protest measures will not only take place in Chota, but also in several provinces in the Cajamarca region. Meanwhile, on Thursday in the Peruvian capital, Lima, police violently repressed hundreds of protesters who were marching towards parliament. Law enforcement used tear gas against the crowd and arrested at least 3 demonstrators. There were also similar mobilizations in the southern Indian cities of Ayacucho and Puno. Demonstrators announced the legitimacy of the Congress and demand that Castillo fulfill his constitutional mandate. Brazil President-elect Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva thanked his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping for his commitment to strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries as part of China's global approach. Lula said he was glad about receiving a letter from President Xi, restating his congratulations on his electoral win and China's commitment to friendship and strategic partnership with Brazil. Brazil-China relations had somewhat endured in recent years as the Bolsonaro administration had taken a rather anti-China approach, hinted by the controversial comments made by Fausto Patino, head of the Brazil-China caucus in Parliament, applying that SARS-CoV-2 virus have been manufactured in a Chinese lab. On Friday, Brazilian President-elect Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva appoints some of the ministers of his future government. Lula has chosen Mairo Vieira as his foreign minister and Fernando Haddad as Minister of Finances. The announcement was made at the Banco do Brasil Cultural Center. It is in this country's federal capital, which is the current site of Lula's government transition term. Analysts said the new ministerial cabinet will allow governability given the many various alliances that make up the new government. Meanwhile, the Senate has approved a constitutional amendment bill introduced by Lula da Silva's team, which will guarantee a financial aid to citizens in a vulnerable economic situation. In the U.S., an oil spill in Creed in northeastern Kansas shut down a major pipeline that carries oil from Canada to the Texas Gulf Coast, briefly causing oil prices to rise. Canada-based TC Energy said it shut down its Kyrgyzstan system following a drop in pipeline pressure. The company said oil spilled into Creed in Washington County, Kansas, about 241 kilometers northwest of the Kansas City. TC Energy said it is a news release that the pipeline segment where this spill occurred had been isolated and that the company was using bombs or barriers to keep the spill from moving downstream. U.S. Senator Kristen Sinema of Arizona stepped down from the Democratic Party to become an independent, as she announces on Friday. Sinema's decision comes just after Democrats won a Senate race in Georgia and secured 51 seats in the 100-member chambers driven by the deep political division. Sinema said that she never properly fit in either national party and said she will not caucus with the Republican Party, so Democrats could still maintain a greater governing control in the closely divided chamber. Sinema's announcement came after the futures of Democratic President Joe Biden's agenda in the second half of his 4-year term was already clouded by the Republicans who are set to take majority control of the House of Representatives on January the 3rd as a result of the November the 8th midterm elections. Let's take a short break now. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Russian President Vladimir Putin arrives in Kyrgyzstan on Friday, where he will take part in the summit of the Eurasian Economic Union. The leaders are expected to discuss creating a common gas market and establishing an intergovernmental council in the energy sphere. They will also address further the integration within the Eurasian Economic Union and the development of a common market of services. During the summit, a package of documents is expected to be signed as the leaders will also adopt the Union's international priorities for 2023. In the sidelines of the main event, President Vladimir Putin will hold a series of bilateral talks with regional leaders, including Armenia Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. The Eurasian Economic Union is an integration project initiated by Russia to protect the interests of the nation of the region after the dissolution of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics in the face of the expanding influence of Washington and Brussels. The bloc is made up by 5 North Asian and Eastern European nations, namely Russia, Belarus, Armenia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. Global polarization and the financial crisis of 2008 favored its consolidation as an economic region, which was reflected in the 2014 treaty signed in Astana. It is a region with a shared history and cultural market estimated at $1.9%. In Moscow, at least one person died as a result of a large-scale fire in the mega Kim Shop Center during the early hours of Friday morning. According to the emergency services, the victim is a man, possibly a security guard. The fire started at around 6 a.m. local Moscow time in the area of the OB Construction hypermarket near the Moscow Ring Road. As a result, the supermarket was completely burned down. According to the report, the fire ranged 70,000 square meters at the roof of the building over an area of several thousand square meters collapsed. Russia and the U.S. established a prisoner swap with which the Russian businessman Viktor Bud and the American sportwoman Brigitte Gardner reigned their freedom. The Russian Viktor Bud assured that during his detention he did not feel Russophobia in the United States prison. On the contrary, he detailed that he felt the empathy of his cellmates. Viktor Bud was served a 25-year sentence in the U.S. on charge of conspiracy to murder U.S. citizens, while American basketball player Brittany Griner was sentenced to 9 years in prison for smuggling 0.7 grams of heroin, which she had contained in cooking oil. Serbian officials reacted strongly on Friday after Kosovo law enforcement said one officer was injured by gunmen after an increase in police presence in northern areas dominated by the Serb minorities. A police officer was slightly wounded and a police car was damaged after armed men fired guns from a vehicle in the village of Serbog Senkan community 50 kilometers north of the capital Pristina. Petar Petekiv, a Serbian official in charge of Kosovo, said that Serbia was considering sending up 1,000 of its security forces to Kosovo to protect the ethnic Serb population. And on Thursday, Turkey maritime authorities said 15 oil tankers were banned from passing through the Turkish sterns due to the lack of proper insurance aimed at European sanctions on Russian oil. According to the Turkish General Directorate of Maritime Affairs, the protection and indemnities insurance of these ships is invalid due to European Union sanctions, and the insurance cannot be compensated in the event of an accident and a measured efforts these years. The United Nations sanctions on Russian oil, which came into force on Monday, prohibit tankers transporting Russian crude from accessing European maritime insurance unless the oil is sold from $60 per barrel or less. As the European energy crisis increased electricity prices in Germany this winter, many German homes and businesses have chosen to install solar panels to generate electricity. According to the German Solar Industry Association, the country generated more solar power in the first 9 months of this year than it did throughout last year. Meanwhile, sales and installations of solar panels and equipment continue to rise in the Central European Union. The capital Berlin and southwestern state of Baden-Württemberg have separately passed a law this year requiring all new buildings to have solar-powered equipment installed on their roof starting next year. And we have more news coming up after this financial break, so don't go away. Welcome back. 9 people died in a coal mine explosion in Indonesia's West Sumatra province on Friday. The blast caused by the poisonous gases, including methane, occurred in a mine owned by the private company while miners were entering the mine pit. A spokesperson from a local search and rescue agency said rescuers were still looking for one more miner who is trapped inside. There were 12 miners suspected working inside the mine site during the explosion. Local rescuers were using blowers to remove air from the mine in order to rescue the area, to secure the area, China called for safeguarding an equitable and reasonable international maritime order at a meeting commemorating the 40th anniversary of the adoption and opening for signature of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Speaking at the meeting, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on all governments to formulate rules and policies to prioritize the ocean protection and conservation. Meanwhile, Sesba Kursi, president of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly, said that the convention will demonstrate the strength of multilateralism and global governance. In Afghanistan, more than 28 million people, almost half of them children, will be in need of humanitarian aid by 2023, according to the recent assessments report by the United Nations organization. The Economy Ministry confirmed that through climate change and making restrictions are the main reasons for poverty. The United Nations Office for Human Affairs reported that the country is entering the second year of the crippling economic turndown Afghanistan was cut off from international financial institutions after the United States froze almost $10 billion on the assets of the central bank of the country, devastated by 2 decades of war. The construction of a quarter-kilometer array, the world's largest radio telescope, began in South Africa on the way ahead of the unlock the mysteries of the universe. The SKA will initially consist of 2 telescope arrays, the SKA Love in Western Australia and the SKA Mid in South Africa's Karoo region, operated by the SKA Observatory headquartered in the United Kingdom. One of the arrays is situated in the current region of Carnarvon, Northern Cape, which is perfectly sheltered from nature enemies of the square-kilometer array radio telescope, such as radio wave, dense populations, and traffic noises.
What will eventually form the telescope are the dishes, and our partner in China will be delivering these 130 dishes here into the Karoo. That will form a significant part of the eventual SKA Mid telescope to eventually form the 197 dishes that will make up the SKA Mid telescope. So a moment like this is a time to look at the future, and this is our moment where we're building the building blocks for an operational telescope that is going to be here for the next 50 years. And it's through our relationships with our partners like China that we're able to get the construction going, get the dishes on the ground, and eventually start operating this telescope.
And just as the heart of millions of fans live the emotion of Qatar 2022 World Cup, teleSUR joins this supportive event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it. Our show airs 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. local time New York. Remember, From the Field only on teleSUR. And we have come to the end of this brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.